Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Pioneers Weekly Recap and Preview Show. I'm Brian Stayton. Let's start with some hardwood and honors for not only basketball, soccer, but for cross country as well, and also some individual honors in tournament play. We'll get through all of that. Let's start on the women's soccer side of things. Two members of Tusculum's women's soccer team have been selected to the all-conference team this week, as voted by the head coaches. Midfielder Sonia Balmert was second team selection, and sophomore midfielder Kinsey Ellenberg was honorable mention choice for the Pioneers, helping the Pioneers to an 8-7-3 mark, sixth in the conference. Balmert was named all-conference for the third time in her career after being an honorable mention in both 2016 and 2017. Tusculum senior goalkeeper Hannah Graham was also honored as a conference statistical champion for her save percentage, 820 save percentage during the regular season. For the Pioneers, a 4-4-10 overall record in her 10 starts and a 1.15 goals against average. A native of Peachtree City, Georgia, she finished her career 1.16 goals against average, the seventh best in program history. Congratulations to Hannah Graham for that great honor, and also to Sonia Balmert and Kinsey Ellenberg being named all-conference. We have some men's all-conference honorees to talk about. We'll get to that coming up in our final segment here of our weekly recap. But let's move our attention to cross country. The Tusculum men's and women's cross country teams finished seventh in the South Atlantic Conference Championship meet held this past Saturday at the Millikan Research Center in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Senior Nicole McMillan, running her first collegiate cross-country race, moving from the soccer team to the cross-country side, finished fifth overall, earning first-team all-conference honors for the women's competition. And for the men, sophomore Jackson Beeson and freshman Kyler Hodges were honorable mention all-conference after they finished 15th and 21st respectively in the men's race. The Pioneers will run in the Division II Southeast Regional meet Saturday, November 17th in Oakwood, Georgia. There was some volleyball that wrapped up the regular season. Unfortunately for the Pioneers, their 3-1 loss to Coker ends the season for them. The Pioneers and the Cobras entered the day last Saturday with a chance to earn a berth in the conference tournament, but they needed some help as Catawba and Newberry needed to fall. That didn't happen for either one of the teams, and Coker was able to knock off the Pioneers 3-1. Pioneers go 4-16 in South Atlantic Conference action on the volleyball side of things, wrapping up the season last week. We're getting into the preview time for basketball. We talked about the exhibition games for the men on the hardwood as the men have traveled to Arkansas, Tennessee, and Cincinnati. They're getting ready for the regular season this week. We'll talk about that. But the women had their exhibition game at home this past Saturday, and it was a fourth quarter surge that boosted the Pioneers to a 84-57 win against Milligan in women's basketball action. Mia Long scored a game-high 20 points and had 8 steals for the Pioneers, who scored 17 straight to start the fourth, and that was part of a 29-2 run, and the Buffaloes were somewhat put away in that fourth quarter and early in the fourth. Tusculum outshot Milligan 28-5 in the fourth, or outscored them 28-5 in the fourth, holding the Buffs to just 2 of 10 shooting from the field and forcing 11 turnovers in the Pioneers exhibition game. Where they go this week, we'll talk about that. And football, you may have seen the Pioneer Football Show with Jerry Odom. Reese Udinsky was held to 150 yards below his passing average this past Saturday, but the VMI Keydets ended the longest losing skid in FCS, third longest in all divisions, as they knocked off the Pioneers by a final score of 20-11. Once again, though, a banner day for 3 great running backs in Shippey and Pratt and Maxwell Joseph. They combined with 200 yards of offense practically, and Lorenzo Pratt put in the 7th best day of a Pioneer by putting in 248 yards of total offense at 71, had kickoff return yardage, also pass yardage and rushing yardage, but it was not enough as the Pioneers fall 20-11. Well, let's talk about the men's soccer program, and what a week it has been for men's soccer. They did make the tournament. They were actually the number 3 seed in the South Atlantic Conference tournament, and they started the conference tournament against the defending tournament champion, the Wingate University Bulldogs. And after a tight game, in which Tombe opened the scoring, Tombe would score from the penalty spot to make it a 2-1 game. Johnny Winter would add the final goal of the game, and the Pioneers would knock off Wingate. And little did we know at that time that the Pioneers would go to the tournament championship. But then again, we should have known, because it seems as if after a down year, the Pioneers have always been somewhat tournament champions. They go to the semifinals. They knock off Carson Newman by a final of 2-0 as Alejandro Caridi recorded his 10th shutout of the season. But in the championship game, Ayuk Tambe scored the winning goal with just about 12 minutes left in the second half, and Tusculum claimed the championship against Anderson University 2-1 at Manchester Meadows in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Tambe's goal gave the Pioneers their third tournament championship in the last 5 years and a conference record 7th tournament championship. The third-seeded Pioneers outshot the Trojans 19-10. Anderson had just 4 on goal, and the Pioneers ended up with 9 of those on goal. Anderson had their winning streak ending at 7 games. Johnny Winter, who scored in each of the Pioneers' 3 tournament matches, was named the most valuable player. Joining him on the all-tournament team were Matthias Grimstad, Fabian Prosch, and Edgar Cervantes. The men's soccer team also earned the number 4 seed in the Southeast region, and they'll face the 5-seed Queens University, and they will open up on Friday at Young Harris, Georgia, at the site of the host of the number 1 seed Young Harris. Should the Pioneers win, they would play on Sunday. The Pioneers are making their 6th appearance at the Division II tournament, their first since 2016, when the Pioneers lost 3-1 to the LR Bears. At all time, the Pioneers are 4-5 in the NCAA tournament. That includes trips to the national quarterfinals and the regional final in 2004, in which they led Tampa 2-0 in that contest, falling 3-2. Then they traveled to St. Louis in 2008 and fell to SIU Edwardsville in overtime 2-1 in that contest. Friday's winner will take on the host Mountain Lions, as they have been unbeaten and a different beast this year, the Young Harris Mountain Lions. Talked about some men who were all-conference winners as well. We're going to go through their all-conference. 5 of the Tusculum University men's soccer team have been named to the all-conference team, earning second team honors. Senior forward Ayuk Tambe, junior midfielder Fabian Prosch, and junior defender Georgios Harkousakis. Honorable mention went to sophomore midfielder Edgar Cervantes and freshman defender Matthias Grimstad. The Pioneers finished that regular season at 9-6-1, third place in the South Atlantic Conference at 6-3-1. Their record now obviously standing at 12-6-1 on the year. So congratulations to the men's soccer team. Once again, talked about the phenomenal push to get into the postseason. Once again, a Pioneer team that for under Alan Patel is interesting. In 2014, they win the tournament championship. 2015, don't qualify. 2016, they win the tournament championship, and Wingate that particular year incidentally won the first national championship in South Atlantic Conference history. But Tusculum was the tournament champions that year. Last year, they didn't even qualify for the tournament, and then 2018, they qualify as the 3 seed and win the tournament for a record in the South Atlantic Conference 7th time. Congratulations to Alan Vitale. Best of luck to them this Friday. You can follow that match through TusculumPioneers.com. It's time to take a look right now at our Zaxby's Athletes of the Week. We've talked about a couple of them already. We'll start on the women's side. Nicole McMillan, running her first collegiate cross-country race, finished 5th overall and earned first-team all-conference honors in the women's competition for cross-country. McMillan, who was a member of the women's soccer team all season long, as soon as the season came to an end, then she jumps on and starts running in the cross country and finishes 5th overall, first team all conference. She will be competing at the Division II Southeast Regional Saturday, November 17th in Oakwood, Georgia. And on the men's soccer side, our Zaxby's Athlete of the Week this week is Alejandro Caridi. All he has done this year has just blanked the opposition. Against Carson Newman, gets the 2-0 decision. And against Anderson, thought he was going to have that shutout once again, but gave up the lone goal, even though winning 2-1. Alejandro Caridi is the 5th goalkeeper to record 10 career shutouts. And obviously the man in between the pipes that the Pioneers win their 7th South Atlantic Conference Tournament Championship. Congratulations to Nicole McMillan of women's soccer and cross country, and Alejandro Caridi earning Zaxby's Athlete of the Week for a 2nd time this year. So what's happening this week? Well, we talked about soccer. The men's soccer team will take on Queens at Young Harris Friday night at 7 o'clock. You can follow along through TusculumPioneers.com. Men's and women's basketball will open up their regular season. The men will be in the Conference Peach Belt Challenge, the South Atlantic Conference Peach Belt Challenge, and that'll be from Aiken, South Carolina, Friday night as they take on USC Aiken, the host. Women's basketball will be in the South Atlantic Conference Conference Carolinas Challenge, and they'll be doing that from Belmont, North Carolina. They'll take on host Belmont Abbey on Friday at 7:30. On Saturday, the men's basketball team will stay in Aiken, South Carolina. They'll take on Clayton State. That'll be at 1:30. And women's basketball will take on King at 5 o'clock from Belmont, North Carolina. And that will be part of their South Atlantic Conference Conference Carolinas Challenge. Pioneer Sports Network will be in Wingate, North Carolina with Tusculum and Wingate football as they wrap up the regular season. Again, kickoff time on Saturday for that game will be at 3 o'clock. Should the Pioneers men's soccer team win on Friday night, they would get a chance to take on the #1 seed in the region, the Young Harris Mountain Lions from Young Harris, Georgia. That game on Sunday would be played at 1 o'clock should they make it. As always, follow online through anything Tusculum Athletics at TusculumPioneers.com. For everyone behind the scenes here for our weekly recap, Brian Stayton. Until next week, go Pioneers.